Dijo, ¿cuántos están oyendo?
Que solo los tienen los chicos del streaming.
Ah, están oyendo español, no les interesa inglés. Gracias. Sí, porque ellos están grabando eso a español. Solo ellos, eso. Como tú pasas para allá. Thanks for being here. We are being connected from mobile devices and we are part of COP16. And this is something quite important because never before in history of COP regarding biodiversity, we had so many world leaders getting together and also so many stakeholders of many parts of the society participating in decisions for the future of life in the world and sharing besides many experiences such as TEFOS, Forestal Territories That Are Sustainable, which is the cooperation for forests between UK and other activities with presence in the national territory in the framework for sustainable growth that has as an idea to reduce deforestation rates of places affected by the conflict, and at the same time that we help towards comply with the goals of greenhouse emission reduction generated by the loss of forests. So we extend greetings, special greetings to Gustavo Adolfo Marulanda Morales, direction of Instituto Geográfico Agustín Codazzi. We also greet Mr. Andrés Gómez, the director of Patrusal GNZ. We also greet Mr. Zamora, director of National Parks, and also Gisian Echeverri Prieto, general director of Hydrology Institution IDEAM. We also want to recognize and highlight the work of our implementing partners. Without them, this work couldn't be possible, couldn't be the same. Thanks again. Thanks for your support. Thanks again to the National Department of Planning, coordinator of the multi-purpose cadastre project of the World Bank. I want to give thanks to Agustin Codazzi, National Agency of Land, Superintendency, the Minister of Environment, with the National Park Unit, Fondo Acción, and of course I want to give thanks to DAI for their support to develop this panel. Now I will ask a question, so we start. How the land management office supports biodiversity management, fighting against deforestation and complying with the goals that Colombia has in this regard. So, well, within this COP16 regarding biodiversity TEFOS program. It's inviting us to know about the social innovations, technological innovations that have been developed precisely in Colombia, how these innovations have this local scope and global scope. Yesterday, we were able to develop the panel promoting sustainability, integration of technology, and conservation of biodiversity, and decision-making processes in the territory, together with biodiversity in Palmira. A valuable space that allowed us to expand the panorama to understand how we can fusion technology and sustainability. So we saw how the use of those technological informations, we can implement those technological tools to optimize decisions in the territory. Let's continue with this panel. Today we have panel building future social innovations, biodiversity, and land administration, where we're going to be able to show to everyone different experiences of indigenous communities, Afro-descendant, and farmers activities in regards to governance, local governance strengthening, fighting against deforestation with the good use of land administration. And then we will be able to answer questions. We'll be having a Q&A session, and you can write down your questions, and we will solve them together with the facilitator and panel members. To start, I would like then to call Gabriela Hen. She's Council of Economy of the British Embassy in Bogota. She's part of the British Embassy since September 2024, and she has been working in topics that have to do with conflict, humanitarian issues, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs office. Gabriela, welcome. Okay, good morning. How are you? Hope you are doing great. Welcoming words to every person here. It's not always the name given, but for this week, that's the name, Casa Británica. Welcome you all. And this is the second panel of 3 panels that we're developing today, and the TEFOS activity within COP16. And so we know that you had a very important and successful journey yesterday in SIAT with technologies and innovation changes. We're able to talk the importance of local data and transparency in regards to the management of information to generate trust and credibility in the use of technology. So I hope that you were able to enjoy it yesterday. Within the framework of COP16, we have wanted to show that cooperation of UK has important progress made in regards to the management of land, administration of land, with TEFOS plan. And the TEFOS and other projects financed by UK, we try to promote relationships in a harmonic manner between communities and their environment. And this way we offer basic needs in order to achieve such purposes and from different environments. So we hope that today's panel regarding social innovations can allow us to explore more in regards to the relationships that we have between peace and nature, and to put in the core of that discussion the communities, and also how it's the relationship with the environment, and also with productive means that they conform triggers for peace in territories. And this multipurpose cadastre also, it's quite important. I hope that after this event, maybe you have time. What happened? You can show the exhibition of TEFOS that we have next on the right-hand side room that shows important pictures of different communities and people that we have been working with in the TEFOS project, and shows peace with nature and how they manage this in the different communities. So thanks again for being here today. I want to give thanks again for the panel members, and I hope that you enjoy this event. Thank you. Thanks, Gabriel, for your welcoming words. And now to start officially this panel, I'll give the floor to our moderator of the day, Yvonne Moreno Horta. Yvonne is from Colombia. She's cadastral engineering, senior specialist in land administration of the World Bank. She has a master's degree in science in, Netherlands University. She has been working projects for Abu Habitat, FAO, and other organizations. Her experience includes the administration of urban land, rural land, and different focus for vulnerable groups, restitution of land, georeferencing information for sustainable development. She has been in charge of she will be in charge of introducing the panel members, and she's going to be the moderator of this event. Thank you. Okay, thanks again for being here. To everyone, I want to give thanks to everyone, the ones that have been connected. So I'm going to start calling our panel members. Mr. Hernando Rayo, please come up stage. Thanks for coming. I will introduce him. Mr. Rayo is the director of this association called MIG. He's from Colombia, member of the Jaguar Group, Plan Ardilla Tarapacá in the Amazon region. He's a leader with a lot of experience in organizations such as the Association of Indigenous Cabildos. He's a delegate of the Macro Amazon Table, and he currently represents the National Association of Colombia, or MIC. From the MIC, he's the chair, and he coordinates the council, especially in consultation and dialogue spaces. Thank you very much. We also have Mrs. Robiela Aguirre with us. Thank you. So she can come up here. Rubiela is a leader of previous consultation processes with Afro-Colombian communities. Please, Rubiela, on my right-hand side better. Rubiela is the leader of previous consultation processes. She's a social worker. She is a specialist in public management. She's also working in a master's degree in human rights regarding post-conflict transition management of SAP. She has a lot of experience in formulation, execution, and follow-up of evaluation of projects. Especially, she was able to work with ethnic groups, with vulnerable populations, with victims of the conflict. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Welcome again. So we also have Carlos Molina. Carlos Molina is a senior specialist of the World Bank. He's an expert in conflict resolution, resettlement of populations, social manager, community participation with vulnerable groups, and he's our expert from the World Bank for the multipurpose cadastre project. Thank you, Carlos, for being here. So then, give a warm welcome to everyone. Also, people that I see here in the audience, different entities besides the British Embassy. I see here also the National Parks Unit, there's Deputy Director, Angelica, that has been supporting this process in a very strong manner. Also, EGAP, we have here Deputy Director. We also have here the program called Corazón de la Amazonía. So I want to give thanks for coming. And from the GZ, Paz Rural program, that has been supporting this participation program. So thanks again for coming. Again, so as I was saying, let's start with dialogue and hope it flows. So the idea is that we're going to be having a QA session. We'll be having people answering, and then after the QA session, if you have questions, comments for the panel members, you can start writing them down, and we'll be collecting the papers to ask questions and to see which ones are similar, and then we ask questions directly to our panel members. So I'm going to start with just a short context. I hope just a minute, because the most important dialogue with our panel members. And so it is that in this process regarding multipurpose cadastre, at the beginning you think on cadastre, at the beginning, about 30 years ago, we thought it was tele leads, and we thought we were thinking only on GPS. Now we think it's another type of technology to have land measured. And so at the end, what we have seen each time more is that territory has been built in a social manner, and people are the knows which are the borders of the land. Are the people, the board of community, the community board or the community council, who knows we have there, especially on those cases where there's no administrative record of who is and where they are. So it's the same community than what that shows exactly what's going on, especially in places affected by the conflict, where maybe some of the people that belong to that territory are not there at that time, but they have not lost that right of being there. So facing those difficulties of knowing who's where, and this territory community participation, it's quite relevant and quite important. And this multipurpose cadastre project, especially because it's part of the peace agreement, it's part of point 1 of the peace agreement. So this is a pillar, a quite important pillar, and that's why this connection between environment, peace, and land, it's key. And we have been trying to support it from different fronts. So with this overview and showing the importance of community work and participation, we will now start asking questions. First question. We'll start right now with Carlos, and then we'll go with the leaders. Carlos, why, from the perspective of the World Bank, inclusion and active participation of communities is key in regards to social safeguarding of development projects? Why? Okay, so well, first thing is to share that from the perspective of the World Bank, every project has something that we call safeguards or social environmental standards. And this, I would say, it's quite important according to each project. In the case of multipurpose cadastre, an aspect that is quite relevant since they started to design the project was the topic that had to do with the social aspect, focused towards indigenous communities, Afro-descendant communities. And here we have our first question. We have a huge challenge in order to have a cadastre information in territories where, let's say, the state has not much knowledge of where the borders are because of many reasons, because of the conflict, because of distance, because of the location, because of the roads. And then we have the special circumstance, and then we have another internal policy that says we need to increase dialogue with those ethnical groups in a very important manner, in a very constructive manner. But also we see something quite important. These ethnical groups do need to participate of the benefits of the projects if it's possible. So what's the participation of those benefits? It's not a problem of yield. No, it's active participation and proposal and decisions the project is putting on the table. And that's the way the project started. As we have said before, we have some backgrounds, which was the peace agreement, quite important. And we think that maybe here we have been having some discussions, important discussions, and broad discussions around the project. But nevertheless, when the project was already working, they raised their hand. The indigenous communities and Afro-descendant communities raised their hand, and they said, hey, we want to have previous consultation. And so in our model, when we put this word, this sentence, previous consultation, we are afraid of that sentence. What's going to be happening? What are going to be, they will be requesting? What can be happening? Is the project will be delayed? Is the project will be failing? But what we have been seeing on the side of the bank was, okay, what can we do? And with this focus of starting things, we looked for resources to support these previous consultation processes with the project and how to work with the agenda, not to have the project staying and paralyzed there when the consultation was taking place. Consultations that took around 2 years maybe. But at the end, this is what we can really say today with a lot of certainty. We saw the idea of starting in a different manner in regards to starting a project, a different way of having partners that are there from the beginning, helping and starting things and allowing things happening. And so I also would like to start from the end. What is the end, or which is the end? The end is a bill that will allow to have Afro-descendant communities and also indigenous communities could be operators of this same cadastre. That's a milestone in Colombia. It's a milestone. We have done this previous consultation at national level with those two communities that are most prevalent. Then we needed to carry out 2 previous consultations, and at the end we're going to be having this decrease that can allow to have them working as operatives of the cadastre. That changes everything. And I will take the word of Ilona at the beginning. The challenge is not a technical challenge. It's not about technology. No, it's not about having more satellites or more engineers in the field. No, the challenge is about knowledge of the territory and to work together with the community to understand where the conflict is, where are the overlaps, because multipurpose cadastre is not solving problems. No, it does identify problems. What does it mean? It means that we can have overlaps with national parks. Yes, we have them. We can have overlaps within communities. Yes, we can have them. Ethnical, indigenous communities, Afro communities, with farmers, producers. They are the ones that know their territory. They are the ones that know where the problems are. They can document them, and they can really turn the page and solve them. So what comes next? What comes next? We have the results of 2 previous consultations. That is positive. Yes. It has allowed to have different communities, indigenous communities and Afro-descendant communities, to talk the same language, to have a truthful participation, to have the same knowledge about a specific element. In this case, the project today, communities know about the project, and we can talk about the project together on the technical side, methodological side. And here's the challenge. It's a methodological problem, and maybe the national government, maybe with the GAC and other organizations, they need to start giving support, and they need to give training the different teams that need to work with this multi-purpose cadastre within the community, but especially they need to have a methodology in place, that they need to have the added value of community participation to be expressed beyond of what can be done by a company in regards to this purpose. So it means the technological side is not on one side, no, but this is what we need to have, a tool that can help solve realities that they know about. Those communities do know about those realities. So I would like to close and say that from the World Bank, we feel that this is a huge experience, has been a huge challenge. We assume it with every difficulty, with problems, because we know that processes have problems, but now we feel that we have a huge opportunity for the country and beyond. I think it's a situation that will help the region, and with high participation will protect the biodiversity. Thank you, Carlos. So let's go directly to the questions if you want. I will ask questions to Orlando María. The first question is for Orlando, please. So we are in this event where we have COP16 showing relevance to the communities, Afro-descendants and indigenous communities, from the perspective, your own perspective, your organization's perspective. Which are the powers that territorial management offers, of course, on behalf of those organizations, climate change management, conservation management? So which are such ideas that can be seen? Of course, many people does not know much what you're doing. So first of all, Orlando, this question, and I would like to ask the same question to Rubiela. Why is it so important, the work carried out from your communities, from the work carried out with different social organizations? Why is this so important to work with you all in regards to climate change, conservation of biodiversity? Thank you very much, Mr. Orlando. Okay, good morning. Good morning. I want to greet you all first. I want to greet the World Bank members. I want to greet every institution, people listening to us, colleagues. Okay, so first of all, I would like to say that the indigenous communities, indigenous peoples, let's say, we're not taking away anything from nobody. Indigenous communities, each people, each community, God gives us, the Creator gives us this land, as that's where we are. And to say that we have not taken out anything from anyone. So since before the arrival of Spaniards, we were there. And I can show you that and I can show you our history with our traceability. That's first of all. What are we doing? It's quite important to highlight what we're doing, that the world, that Colombia can know, because many Colombian people do not know about us. Even though that from Colombia, some people know, but they do not want to know. They do not want to acknowledge. They do not want to help us, and how we can be respected, how we can be understood. So I think that's quite important. So I can say that the knowledge systems that we have, our livelihood in our territory, and today, I would say, this is what's sustaining the environment, the biodiversity as well. And it's not anything else. Why? Because if we see what's happening with our people, where our people are, they are in our territory, it's there where things are happening to mitigate, taking care of nature, because we take care of nature. That's what we're doing. And so that has allowed us to see how we can be understood with the institutions, and how institutions should understand us. And that's something else that we should do. And also to talk with different states, with the governments, and so we can continue taking care of this. And not only take care of animals and plants and rivers. No, it's take care of human beings that we have there. It's to take care of human beings. Why? Because sometimes we think that the tree is everything. We think that the river is everything. We think that animals are everything. No, that's not the case. We have human beings that have the balance between man and nature. Each people knows how to take care, how to heal. And not only to stay there, not only for us as indigenous peoples, but for everyone that is there in this territory, and for whole humanity, to say that this is the system, the knowledge system from our side. That's why when we have this summer season coming, when we have rainy season coming, when we have fruits, all of those healings that we carry in our territory is what sustains nature. It's not only trees, it's not only animals, because you want to only watch monkeys and trees. That's not the case. I want to say that if biodiversity, I would say that we are conserving it, and what remains, because it's not only what remains, it's in the hands of communities, indigenous communities, and you know how it is. You know how it is. And so no one will tell us that that's not the case, when indigenous communities are the ones that are helping this with this balance between nature and man. Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, thanks again. Good morning to everyone. My colleagues, the ones supporting us here. I think, well, I have here a dual responsibility from the Agustin Codazza Institution, and as a Afro-community member, Afro-Colombian member from Mosquera, Nariño, from the Pacific Coast. I would like to connect with the last sentence of Mr. Orlando when he says about what we still have, or what remains, in order to bring to the table some ideas, some of situations that we're facing in our territories, because I'm from the territory as well. And well, I need to think on what's going on and what's affecting us, such as climate change, erosions happening, displacement of land, floods, droughts. That's changing our practices. That's changing practices of our communities at territorial level, and therefore they need then to carry out or other type of practices, not only regarding the use, or also conservation, that they have been able to carry out in an ancestral manner. So, for example, policies regarding conservation, we can say that communities somehow had used resources and land for many years now, and let's say, maybe using the land, checking it from conservation. In the Western view, it's different, but animal consumption, logging, these actions, always communities have developed them in a sustainable manner, even though that has not been the ancestral sentence that we have. But I think that communities today, and always, we have said that communities are working with conservation. Why? Because the way that we work with the land and the way we use resources, it's quite different than the way other people are working with it. And maybe some foreign people come and harm our resources. And the way that how can we strengthen those actions from our territory? I would like to highlight that conservation practices. Today we have so many organizations that do have in their agendas, territorial agendas, development of environmental activities or education, and some of them are created with cooperation, international cooperation, and we need to highlight what is being done even regarding working with national parks. We have some communities that are present in the parks and they need to work together. At the beginning it was not easy to work with the national parks and with communities, but now understanding as well that those communities have been there forever and that today they're working from their own wisdom, technical wisdom and ancestral wisdom. So this management, land use are adequate. Also communities are having sustainability because those changes have made that sovereignty, food sovereignty has been at risk. So I would say that to complete my sentence regards to what we need to strengthen, I would say it's really quite important that our communities can build or can achieve and can update those cadastral plans. Those are instruments regarding management of territory and planning policies from the wisdoms of communities that can be articulated with the work carried out at national level. For example, in the strategy of climate change policies of the government and what can be seen in the National Development Plan regarding land and water use. So I think this is the time to recognize those diagnoses in the territory. Territories where institutions are not easy to approach, but I think that if we work with those plans that communities have, that are created today for preservation and conservation, we can work in a joint manner with the government and to have communities to gain sovereignty and sustainability, and we can connect land, territory, and sovereignty. Thank you very much. Again, I will stay with one more question, I think for everyone here. I will ask myself, how can we learn from ancestral wisdom, from these practices that you are mentioning? How much we need to learn from you? How much you can teach us so this conservation practice can be kept in time or be replicated? There are so many topics that we need to dialogue with communities that we need to highlight. But another question would be, Mr. Orlando. The question would be, from previous consultation question that was used with Cadastre, which are the lessons learned from the organizational side, from the coordination with institutions that you can share about? What was the importance of this previous consultation? Not only the outcome, but also the process. How do you see from the indigenous communities the following steps that we need to follow? Important is the work carried out. I think that here we need to mention how we can highlight or how can we organize things much better, because we, I would say, always like to do things, but sometimes things are not that completely. But today you do a little piece, tomorrow you do another piece, but we never show what we're doing. So we indigenous peoples always are told, okay, go and look for, I don't know, look for a specific species, and we need to complete the task. So you need to complete the task. So go catch the fish and bring it. And we just complete the process. And we see that the institution is not working the same way. They send us a task and we do not do it well, and it doesn't matter to us. We do not complete it, and we have dialogue, yes, but it doesn't work. So, well, in the work carried out, I think this was quite important task. Why? because since 2017, more or less, we have been working with them. But we were able to see something at the end, but we were able to work with the institution and how they're working, how we're working. So that means how dialogue is between the indigenous peoples and the ones that represent us in the institution. Why? Because sometimes our own colleagues are there, and sometimes we think they know what we want to do, but institutions are absorbing us, as we can say. Maybe sometimes we're not able on thinking what we have in common, but when we go there, we do not do it. Some other people do it. So what we do outside, what we criticize there, then we go and do the same. So the idea is to work with the government and to help us, and that they need to respect us, and at the same time they need to see how we can work in the territory. And at the same time, we weren't recognized before, and also the concepts that we're using weren't recognized. Also, we need to check out that there are some other people working with us, and we need to talk. We need to dialogue. We need to have some dialogue, and the government helps with the dialogue. It's not helping us to work together. Why? Because that happens. That happens because we have some of our colleagues, and the government does things differently, and they make us fight. And today, let's say that after all of what's been happening, after those teachings, because we're able to learn how institution works, how things are done, but also our brothers that went there and they showed them how we work, how we operate. And after that, we find also that the decree has not been signed. Maybe you brothers, Afro members, do you know if this was signed? More than a year and it has not been signed. So how the government is not helping us in regards to what we did. So previous consultation, okay, that we worked with, is going to stay there? You think it's going to stay there? We cannot make progress there? So that means that we got lost in time. We lost a lot of time. And now we need to fulfill it and not do things just midway. Then we see that the Colombian government are going to the territories and they are making us fight. They are breaking the agreements that were agreed. They are making us fight. And that something cannot be done between brothers. If we agree, if we are having this previous consultation and now they're doing things differently, that cannot be done. Okay, let's say, yes, sometimes we're making progress. We have said how we can conform our teams, because the only ones that know the territory, not even know, we know everything. We almost know it because it's too big. Our elderly are the ones that manage the world, the ones that know how the territory is, where they know where everything is, but that spirituality is in their heads. But what happens? The institution is not working as it should be working. No, I don't think that's the case. Why? Because this is between us, human beings, and everything around us is the spiritual side. So this knowledge system that we have is what we want to check in order to know which is the territory. And we're not talking about what was given to us. No, we're given what was given by the Creator to us. And to open roads, not only human roads, but every road around us. I think this was a good experience, but it was short. It didn't make progress. It took more than a year. So we're losing time, a lot of time, because we could have made progress and we could have done so many things to be able to help developing this task to help with climate change, with diversity, with climate crisis. We could be helping them out and how we could really show to the world what we have and how we manage it. So to have those new generations learning from us without thinking only on the human side, because what is killing us is precisely the capitalism. It's killing us, the economy. Into I do not care if I want to cut trees of the other one. I just want to have money. That's what they're doing. That's what it's killing us. That's what they're doing. And that's the legacy that we're showing our children and grandchildren. Humans are killing themselves, and they will kill the environment. They will kill biodiversity. They will kill everything. Okay, can you hear me? Yes, thank you very much for your words. Let's remind you that if people that are connected online, you have questions, you can ask them in the chat. People that are here and have another question can write them down. They will be collected because the idea is to be able to have a dialogue. Council, thank you very much. Now, Maria Rubiela. In this previous consultation process, together with communities, Afro-descendant communities, indigenous communities, the social participation perspective, which are the lessons learned or best practices? What comes next? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, well, we have had challenges, lessons learned, and many things are there now to show. So I think that it has been a process that it's like a historic milestone in regards of rights that we have in our territory. Why? Because these are results that communities are getting with their struggle, demanding in territory, but also working with the institutions. So this is a result, a very important result for communities, that this catastrophe, it's a multi-purpose catastrophe, that we have carried out a participatory exercise with this previous consultation together with ethnic communities. In the case of Afro-descendants, last August of this year, they were to protocolize the norms and they were to protocolize the rules for collective cadastre activities, and also for territories where Afro-descendants came. That's a process with many difficulties, yes, but this policies exercise, rights for communities has not been easy. I think there's the will to do it, especially now where we are. But nevertheless, I would say that dialogue sometimes is not horizontal as we wish it would be, but I think it's an important milestone to highlight in the history of communities at territorial level. What comes next, I would say, with this previous consultation from Afro-descendant communities? Okay, the decree has not been signed, so we hope that we can do it. I hope that the institution is working very hard at institutional level, trying to connect people to have those decrees signed. That's a step that needs to be taken. So Dr. Diego, it's a witness of this, that we need to make progress for this to happen, and I hope it does happen. So I think that in terms of participation, it's quite important because this is an activity carried out in the whole national territory with the participation of every community. Today we have another challenge, which is to take this information to the territories and also to have every community and base organizations to know what's going on. And so this idea in the territory would be also dialogue, intercultural dialogue, where communities can participate of this exercise, raising information from a different scope. What does it mean? What does this multi-purpose catastrophe means? We need to recognize that beyond, as was projected, a video that we had at the beginning, in regards to raising information, physical, economic information from the land. The land is in a territory where we have people, and for ethnic communities, this land, it's an element that identifies them, over which we carry out practices and different exercises for the sustainability of life, but also for survival of peoples. So to raise information from the scope of communities also allows us to have available at the institutional level. So somehow we could say that this information could be used for the recognition of the land, and there are some places where this information has never been raised. I say this because I come from a rural area. I'm from Mosquera, Nariño, a community called Cantil, and I never knew about this Agustin Codazzi before, but now we're going to be having a territorial activity there with my people, with my community, and this was agreed. This is exercise, uh, policy exercise. Sometimes it's hard, but to recognize that beyond land, we have people living there, and I carry out activities in regards to conservation, sustainability of life, which is everything for ethnic communities. This is an important exercise. The challenge is that we can also articulate this technical knowledge, technological tools with this, that the communities know how to do it, as was being said before, but our council member communities are the ones that know how to go to the territory, because sometimes the government has never reached those places, and people are living there, facing situations that are being affecting them, such as climate change, complex topics, and they're surviving their territory. So I would say this is a huge step, and we have still so many things to do, but information, even though we are not working with this policy from the Agustin Codazzi institution, and to put the information in the hands of the people with territorial focus, intersectoral focus. It's a nice activity in benefit of the communities. Thank you very much, Mara Rubiela. There's another question. Before this, we have one more question. Want to read it? Would you like to read it? And while Vladimir looks for the question, I didn't greet the National Planning Department, the whole team that is here with us today from the DNP. Thanks for your participation in the whole project, and also for coming to the event. Thank you. Yes, in this same thread, I would be asking what comes next for the indigenous communities and Afro-descendant communities to the cadastre activity. Yes, well, and we have another question here. If you think, council member, you can start answering. We have another question. I propose that Mara Rubiela could answer, which are the barriers that are being faced by indigenous women belonging to collective territories for their active participation in the cadastral process. But if you think, just to allow you to take some time, I will ask the council member first. Yes, I think that we need to continue working in this. We need to issue this decree, because we are trying to work with this decree. Everything is being included there. It has not been signed. And I think we need to make progress. And what we have agreed. So I would say, cadastre operators, it's to see how we can make progress here, because we're the only ones that know about the territory, and are not other people knowing about the territory. We're the ones that know the territory, and each structure, each peoples, we from indigenous peoples, from our Afro siblings, they know their territory, and that's what needs to be done. It couldn't be as it's been done now, that are making us fight. They are making us fight against our own people. So that cannot be, that cannot continue. And this country wants peace. If we want peace with nature, we should work with peace. And we're the ones that are in territory, and we check peace. But for nature, if men are not working together with peace, how can we make peace with nature? That's the way we need to do. Gracias. And we need to do so many things, because people do not know about this. Not many people know about this. I have been working with many teams for years, and they talk about this, and then we get lost in the dialogue. Sometimes we do not have the technology. So how can we continue getting trained, but also how can we support ourselves and support our people? This is something we need to work together, but we shouldn't have people tripping us. We shouldn't have other people tripping our legs. Yes, I will say with that sentence, how can we work together? How can we support? How can we strengthen the work area of our communities? And we can really, as I would say it, and we can go to action in territories. And I think the council member is helping us much in this. Thank you, Maria Rubiela. 2 questions for you. Yes, what comes next? And the following topic is, which are, let's say, the barriers and opportunities that you are facing and women are facing in this process? So, connected to what's been said before, yes, and what comes next? I would say we have talked about the administrative side related to the management of land. So the idea to have those decrees being signed. So we haven't worked it out in regards to Afro-descendants. We have a task in each territory at national level, or at least where we can go together with the Afro-descendant members. We need to share this result, the result of the previous consultation, because there are some territories do not have a clear idea of what this includes, and also what has to do with the cadastre. Also to have it clear that the community councils, community boards, they also can be ones operating in their own territory. So we still need to make progress in this other task of working with exchange of wisdom, if we can call it that way, strengthening capacities, and also strengthening council boards, community boards, for them to operate there. This is not easy. I don't think it's an easy task. Part of the barriers that we have seen in this previous consultation is that the Afro communities do not know much about the cadastre. They do not have the technical knowledge, and sometimes it's so difficult even being part of the community. And I go back and agree to what was being said by Orlando, to be able to work with the wisdom, because those wisdoms are valuable. But nevertheless, the scope of the community is quite important for this type of activity. So in order to make progress in what comes next, we're also working with different organizations for the strengthening of knowledge transfer. And from the other side, we need to recognize the wisdom regarding territories, because that's the idea. We need to work with the different geographies. Starting with these, communities can have the tools needed to operate in their own territories. So again, when they conclude this exercise regarding the decree being signed then or enacted, we will be adopting those tools, but also we are working with this, and meanwhile we need to make progress in those intercultural dialogues in the territory. So well, starting with the consultation result, I would say that barriers for women, at the end, I would say, I'm talking about Afro communities regarding elderly. They are the ones that allow me to be here, but we didn't carry out specific actions regarding gender scope. But we are thinking that this reality is there. We are black, yes, we're Afro-descendants, yes, but at the end we have done something with the IGAC, and here we're working with the gender team as well to be able to take such tasks to the territory. We hope to have the preservation of women, strengthening capacities, and that would be quite meaningful. And those gaps regarding participation could be closed, understanding that whenever we talk about taking care of women, let's say, sometimes of them are caregivers, and we talk about land use, less than 25% of women are land tenures, owners, and the caregivers are women. Caregivers are women, but we have some other dynamics there over which we need to make progress. We need to overcome those gaps in regards to land ownership, because sometimes people think that the owner or the ones that manages the land is the man. So we need to be leaders in those exercises that we're carrying out, and we want to have the participation of organizations that will carry out this participatory activity. We have other elements that could be kept in mind, such as the legal instruments. We do not know much about how we can administer the land whenever we promote actions. For example, the Ministry of Agriculture, many women do not know how to participate, even to formalize the territory. So well, that's the way we should work on, and to think on actions, activities from the institutional side, on the technical side. Sometimes I would say it's more flexible than to put them into practice, but I think that this exercise that we're working with and that we have started and facing the implementation of the previous consultation activity, multi-purpose cadastre will take women to have a higher participation, active, effective participation that will be seen in what we're doing with this multi-purpose cadastre, recognition of the territory as a fundamental base for the sustainability of life. Thank you very much, Mara Rubiera. We have another question. Yes. From your own way of thinking, from the communities, how do you see this geography intercultural school that is being implemented by IGAC in regards to the implementation of this cadastre with a participative scope? And the second part of the question would be if you think that these tools are key for the previous consultation agreements. Yes, well, council, the schools, about the schools. So I think that what we're saying is training. We need training. How can we train the society to know what that is and how that training can help us to learn how to respect the territory? How we can, let's say, train ourselves, but not a training of the same with the same. No, we won't be able to make progress if we do that. So how this training should be comprehensive amongst everyone so we can make progress. I think that's quite important. Again, as was said before, how we can get trained. How can we learn? The institution, the same, but everyone that will work in the territory, also people at territorial level, for them to support this, because if we stay there, hidden in our own places and our own caves, we will be fighting among us. And that's why we're having so many problems. If we work together in these discussions, we're going to be having many profits or much profit. Not thinking on us, but thinking also on those new generations that we need to show them the safety and really a good path. I would say, listening from the council, I say with this approach, we're allowing the cadastre to be a tool to build peace, where we can recognize the rights that they have over land and conflicts won't be exacerbated. So cadastre will allow it to build peace, and with this participation, I think that's what comes next. Maria Rubiela, thank you. Yes, I think that how can we see this school? This school is an opportunity in order to have knowledge transfer at territorial level. So this is something that the institution is doing to strengthen capacities of the organizations that will operate in their own territories, and the communities can have that technical knowledge. Precisely now we have made progress in a joint work with the school from the ethnical focus. So the exercise should also include the communities and also working with each of the organizations, the content to have this capacity being strengthened, and communities also have a lot to teach in regards to how this exercise is carried out. For example, raising information. So there are places, understanding the ownership of what it means a place, as was been said before by Manuel. So I think that's quite important for communities. So second part by me, what was it? Sorry?
Organization that brings together man and so we're doing a job which is a significant challenge. I, as a black woman, believe that is quite difficult and complex to succeed in having the communities become operators, but this is what it's all about. The joint work is going to provide us with a number of outcomes, and this is part of the exercise that we're doing with the school. We want this to become an articulated effort because we learn together and we'll have opportunities to improve by doing joint work. So that's what interculturality is about as a political project for the communities. One more question that we got is at the World Bank, which is an international organization, how do you see the experience in Colombia as far as community engagement regarding the community participation experience in the region? What do we have to learn from those community-based efforts in Colombia? What can we teach? But if we look at Colombia as a region in community participation projects, we have a wide-ranging legislation that involves the constitutional level, and it expands to all of the different settings of regulation. We are prepared to do all kinds of community participation projects. However, we go to practice, when you get to how to do it, that's where we start to have fractures, that's where we start to have challenges, and I believe that is for different reasons. Biodiversity in the territory, the biodiversity of cultures, the issue of the different ways of ownership and control of the territory, the issue of conflict. This makes those participation spaces to become much more complex. I believe that this is precisely the positive developments is something that we can teach to the other countries and communities in the region, because we have, I insist, a wide-ranging regulation. There are experiences that are starting to provide results, but we need more experience. Thank you, Carlos. Perhaps the last question. Thank you. The people who are online through YouTube, they're asking us basically, in some from your perception and the way you operate as a community, what do you feel are the most effective mechanisms for dialogue and agreement? The most effective dialogue and agreement mechanisms. Okay, the peoples are always willing to discuss, to agree. From our vision, that is sitting down to discuss, because we have our traditional peoples that have this ability to do it. I believe that this is what we've been doing and what needs to be done. That is, we cannot deal with any other kinds of discussions. What is the narrative? How was the world created? What is this territory? Where are our boundaries? How do we live? How do we need to care for nature? I believe that we need to implement this, and we need to continue working in that direction. It's not about what I think and what the institutions think. Unless we make a change, unless we make progress, unless we understand each other, because we want to impose things on each other. And how can we move forward on those dialogues? Okay, thank you, Councillor. I think that as far as dialogue and agreement mechanism with the communities, it's about doing a joint exercise by abiding the interests of the communities. We need to interact with the representative institutions. This is important as well, because sometimes processes begin with one authority, they end up with a different one. So there are a number of organizations leading the communities, but there are a number of institutions that you need to discuss with by always ensuring the representation of the communities. It should be a joint effort rather than imposition by the institutions. It should be a joint work that will actually ensure participation and that will abide and respect by the customs of the communities. Okay, I will keep 2 sentences and then I will go to the summary. Thank you to everyone that asked questions, people on YouTube, people in person here, so I will keep the two last sentences. Joint construction, joint work. I've been taking notes of everything that has been said, and it's not for me to cover what both my colleagues said, but I see opportunities here. Opportunities with prior consultation for black communities, Afro-Colombian, Palenqueras communities, indigenous communities, with the proper instruments. We're still waiting for the executive action to be the executive decree. But the consultation is an example of how ownership rights can be reconciled with climate aspects without having to attack the rights of the communities and the rights of the vulnerable communities. What comes next? We need to strengthen particularly the women leaders. They need training so that they know how to do land use calculations, and we need joint construction with traditional members of the community. So there's a dialogue where we have a common purpose, which is how to do the land use effort, but we need the communities to directly participate. And around the joint construction, but the question that I'm asking for to each and everyone, how can I support this effort by using my role? And I ask, does academia have the possibility of making a contribution? There are regional parks, there are national parks. What are the contributions? Different donors, different funders. We at the World Bank, how do we support, if it's the communities and the organizations that are showing that they can do a better job, that they can better use the territory, and this is where biodiversity is doing better, how do we support this joint construction in our own roles? And let me conclude, in addition to thanking everyone, the role of the World Bank for the region is we're action. How can we support each and every one of you in order to take action? Thank you so much for your participation. Big hand for the panelists, please.